Welcome to Show and Tell. In this series, I review brand new games quickly and with as much detail as possible. Ready? Go. Defunct is an odd little game that I really wanted to love, but in the end there was just too much holding it back. It's a 3D platformer all about speed and using momentum to quickly traverse the levels. It's got a Wall-E quality to it in terms of the theme, with what looks like an abandoned human planet now occupied by little quick robots. The developer clearly understands style and color. There are a lot of sections of the game, most notably sections like Oasis, which really pop out of the screen. The environments were really varied, with desert highways and meadow-like hills neighboring unrealistically but welcomely near each other. It's a shame that I feel like there was some pretty gross frame rate drops, and it always seemed to happen in the pretty areas. The thing is, Defunct looks good from afar but bad up close. The textures are really low res, even with the setting at very high, which makes the cutscenes look pretty damn ugly. Luckily for the majority of the game, you won't be looking at the textures too up close, and you're supposed to be going fast, so it should be that the environments are a hypnotizing blur of color as you traverse the landscape. Unfortunately though, that was the real issue with the game. The game is definitely at its best when you're traveling at high speed, jumping from platform to platform smoothly. The issue is that it's too difficult to keep up momentum most of the time. 90% of the time I was able to identify the path I needed to take in order to do awesome jumps and travel quickly, but the handling of the character is so finicky and slow, I could almost never do what I meant to do. I do think there should be challenging games like this, but it should be based on your reaction times and making snap decisions to travel in certain directions, not based on whether or not the volatile physics of the engine wants to agree with you. Far too many times I'd be traveling at high speed, feeling great, and then smack into a wall because I was traveling too fast and missed the platform I was supposed to land on. And if the pacing of the game wasn't being undermined enough, there are these weird puzzle-like sections where you slow down and collect batteries to power up the door that lets you progress. The gameplay is fun when it works the way I want it to. The issue is it almost never works the way I want it to, and it becomes frustrating. Maybe the game would be more fun for someone who spends a lot of time with it and gets familiar with the controls, but my bet is that is not going to be the majority of people. The story isn't anything crazy. You're a little robot who fell off a ship and now you have to return to it. Even so, there was some surprisingly satisfying story beats, and that's backed up by an interesting world that tells you a bit about itself just from looking around the environment. For example, you see old rusted cars and highways around the place, so you can gather that humans used to live here. And the music is often your cue that the story is progressing. It's little details like that that make the world one that you want to be in. There's also some really interesting sections of the game where your character is supposed to be feeling a certain way, and it's reflected really well by the mechanics. For example, during a moment where there seems to be little or no hope, you'll find yourself having to push yourself up hills and failing jumps that you could easily have made with a bit more speed. The mechanics of the game allowed some of the story to be told, which I think is really cool. In the end, I finished this game in 90 minutes. That's short, but for the right price that can be okay. The price the developers gave me was €11. Converting that is $12, so the final price of the game could be anywhere between $10 and $15 in the US, probably $12 or $13. $13 is way too much, $10 is better, but still not really a good price. This should be a $5 to $7 game in reality, so the price isn't great. Maybe pick up the game on sale for around the price I recommended, but even then it's gonna depend. If you appreciate an interesting and sometimes quite pretty world and a fairly satisfying story, and can look past frustrating mechanics, sure, buy it on sale. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to say avoid. Now for the score. Defunct is getting a score of 5.2 out of 10, so, maybe a little tiny bit better than meh. The story was the driving force of what got me through the game, and the presentation was pretty good all around, leaving aside the textures, but the mechanics were flawed. $12 is far too expensive for this kind of meh experience, and I just found myself frustrated most of the time. Thank you very much for watching. If you found this review helpful, I'd appreciate a like, and if you want to keep up to date on new indie game releases, I urge you to subscribe. See ya.